Hello, so this is Homeworld Cataclysm, or Homeworld Emergence as it's now called, because apparently Blizzard owns Cataclysm as a copyright. Yeah. This, I don't know if you know the Homeworld games. Hang on, let's just get that. Okay, so I don't know if you know the Homeworld games. They're basically, at least the first Homeworld is probably the best known. They did get a recent remaster a few years back. They're basically strategy games, space strategy games, where you control a big mothership that sends off fighters and like worker units. It was sort of an evolution of the old school RTS model, where you start at a position, have a base, and then you just like build out from there. Whereas Homeworld gave you a ship that you can move around, and you had more depth to the tactical elements of it and the strategy. Cataclysm was a spin-off that has very little to do with the main game. It's basically a horror story. It's kind of really unusual. I really like it. It's one of my favorite games because it's like this. It's basically The Thing in space, in a strategy game. So it's really bizarre, but really good at the same time. And it's presented well. The story elements, the cutscenes, almost feel like a radio play, but with slideshow imagery to illustrate things. But yeah, let's get into it. You'll probably see what I mean as we start to play. So we do actually have the choice of modifying our colours. Is that the default one? Oh no, that's the default. So like you only have two colours, like your main colour and then your secondary colour, but like you can do what you want, and in terms of whatever colours you want your team to have, which is pretty cool. Nice bit of customization for the era. I can't think of any other games that gave you that sort of option at the time. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to stay mostly quiet for the cutscenes because they are quite important, and then I'll just talk once we get into the game.
The war for Hiigara has left the galaxy in turmoil. The past 15 years have seen the birth of new possibilities and the festering of old grudges. The once dominant Taiidan Empire has fractured under the strain of civil war. The new Taidani Republic tries to hold the old territories together, while forces loyal to the old Emperor lurk in the new bandit kingdoms, waiting for their chance to strike back. While the Taidani struggle between past and future, the Kushan people have established themselves on Hiigara, building new cities, repairing the damage done by the final battle for their home world. Even a fragile peace has its politics. The Kith Council has been re-established, and the future of Hiigara is now debated amongst the gathered Kithsa. Even amongst equals, there are power struggles. The mothership still orbits high above Hiigara. Pressed into the role of shipyard, she now builds new carriers to the specifications of each individual Kith. The need for new ships and the crews to man them is a desperate one. Military and economic pressure on the new Hiigarans is intense. Resources and technology are at the command of the Council. Kith, with little or no political power, have been forced to purchase technology from the Bentusi and other races. Hiigaran ships of exotic design now seek their fortune amongst the stars. The war for Homeworld is over now. But the galaxy remains a dangerous place.
So I feel like that last line was just an excuse for why we have different looking ships to the original Hiigarans. I think they look different anyway. If you notice, it says HTTP, which I think is a typo. Because that's not how you spell. Essentially, we're Somtar, and it shows it in a minute how it's supposed to be spelled. But I think somebody must have accidentally been typing something else when they were doing the script for this, and that somehow got into the release, which is pretty funny.
Empty. Moving on.
So yeah, this is us. We're basically a mining vessel.
This is Somtar Fleet Command to all ships. Prepare for emergency hyperspace. Set course for the home world.
Sorry, I'm just trying to not speak over them in case they say something. God, that's a lovely shot, isn't it? Or just let the cutscene play, and I'll come back to what I was going to say. God, those look so cool.
Target in sight.
I could probably just sit and talk about that intro cutscene for like hours. There's a bit more dialogue, and then I can come back to what we were talking about and what we was going to talk about.
Officer online. Full power to sensors. Analyzing combat data now. Command, we need to find out where we can do the most good.
Understood, Tactical. Attention carrier Virak. This is Kith Somtar mining vessel Kunlan. We have arrived in sector 112 and request targeting data.
Good to have you, Kunlan. We've got a strike fleet needing cover in sector 109. Can you assist?
We'll send everything we've got, but be advised, we are a mining vessel. It would be best if we did not have to move directly into the main battle.
The strike wing of Fireland's frigates are under attack from Tidani bombers at this position.
Without fighter support, the frigates will be destroyed and that flank will collapse. Send out a squad of Acolyte fighters ASAP to assist the frigates.
Okay, so we'll just go into the menu because I think this is the only way to pause it. I just wanted to say, like, that intro cutscene, like, says so much about the game. Like that, those in-camera or in-engine like cutscenes look so good for the time. I think we probably take it for granted now that you can do those things, but that was quite uncommon at the time, at least from what I remember. Like, that looks really good. Usually you'd have pre-rendered cutscenes. Instead it's all in-engine. Most of it's in-engine, aside from those like black and white story cutscenes that most levels are preceded by. I think all of them are. But yeah, once you get into level, you get those in-game cutscenes, and it's really amazing, at least at the time, what they could do with them. But yeah, what I was going to say is, this is Homeworld Cataclysm. Basically, we're a mining vessel. It's still a strategy game, like the original Homeworld, but we play, or we control a mining ship. So in the tradition of horror games, or horror in general, we're not a soldier, we're not a hero as such. We're a weaker character in this instance, a mining vessel, if you get what I mean. Like, we're not the person or the thing you would expect to be bringing the pain. I think it really works. Oh, I should have come in here, shouldn't I? And paused it. Although, having said that, like, as much as I was saying, like, we're a mining vessel, so we're not that powerful. We do get incredibly powerful by the end of the game, so.
Construction underway.
Oh, wait. Oh, there we go. Okay. So it's a relatively easy game.
Worker ready.
There are a few tricky missions.
Worker here. Understood. Harvesting.
Recon, ready to go.
We've picked up a flight of Taidan fighters incoming from the main battle. They're probably investigating our hyperspace signature.
Okay. I love stuff like this though, like, it looks so good.
Command. Ready.
I really do think it's something we just take for granted now, that the camera would be able to do such interesting things.
Worker ready. Harvesting.
Well, at the time at least, I remember the camera being pretty static. Or cameras in games being pretty static.
This is command.
Just tell me where to go.
Setting aside.
So these are recon units. We're just going to have them sort of like explore, just to figure out what's going on the map.
I'm on my way, Command.
Bridge.
Roger, Command.
Adding ships to Group 1.
Target acquired.
Project halted due to lack of resources. Bridge.
Yeah. Hauling rock.
Stand by Group 1.
So I should probably talk about how
Receiving.
Adding ships to Group 1.
Homeworld plays, to be honest. I was about to say Halo for some reason. I think because H. But yeah, essentially we can't really, at least in this mode, we can't really move around the screen. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. We have to focus on units and then we just follow them, and we can just see what's around them. So you can click on something, press F, and then wherever that thing goes,
Underway to coordinates
the camera follows them. But then you can switch to this tactical mode, and then use the
the hangar. Coordinates locked in.
use the arrow keys to move around the map.
Stand by Group 1. Stand by Group
So
1.
Worker ready.
to click on something, you just left click,
Stand by Group
and that'll select it. If you want them to do something, you need to press either a button. So M for move, I think. Maybe A for attack. No. Okay, no. If you right click a unit, if you've got a group of ships selected and right click an enemy, they'll fire on them. You can see the cursor changes to like a target icon. And there's other context specific changes, or context specific icons that will pop up, and commands.
Target locked in.
Bridge.
Roger, Command.
Adding ships to Group 1.
Weapons charged.
So I think what I'll do is I'll have these guys
To attack. Target acquired.
just move in, and then I'm going to construct a whole
Roger.
second group who can defend the harvesters. So I did notice some enemies over here. I think there's a group of enemy harvesters like here, taking resources. Can we research anything? No? Maybe? Not yet?
Stand by Group 1. Delta. Formation set.
Moving to attack. Target locked in.
With most objectives, at least in the early stages, like you can handle them whenever you want.
Weapons charged.
Some are timed, especially the later you get into the game. Like you'll have like units you need to defend, and if you don't arrive in time, obviously they die. But it's a
Hostiles by Group
Target
9.
acquired. Target locked in.
smooth learning curve, to be honest.
Command.
Roger, Command.
Adding ships to Group 2.
Weapons charged. Moving to attack.
Stand by Group 2. Stand by Group 1.
Target acquired.
So we want to avoid getting near any capital ships because they will just tear apart the acolytes. I think attack bombers aren't really good at close combat. Like they're just useful for capital ships. I could be wrong there.
Underway to coordinates now.
Stand by Group 1.
Moving to attack.
Bridge.
Ready.
Stand by Group 2. Adding ships to Group 2.
Coordinates locked in. Underway.
Stand by Group 1.
Moving to attack.
have picked up a convoy of enemy resources with escorts in this area. They must be resupplying the Imperialist attack fleet. Engage and destroy them.
Oh, good thing I was headed that way anyway.
Stand by Group 1. Stand by Group 2.
It can sometimes do weird things with the camera when you select a group.
Moving out.
Yeah, maybe we'll leave them alone.
Underway.
Our engineers think there is a way to link our acolytes together to form a Corvette-class vessel. They are ready to begin research on the project.
Adding ships to Group 1.
Underway. 2 coordinates now.
Research underway.
Oh, okay, we've already got fighter drive, haven't we? That's how we got fighters. Yeah, I think, like, if you noticed in the cutscene, the in-game cutscene at the start of the battle, we saw a lot of ships, like the yellow one that got destroyed straight away, and then the green ones. I think those were all Hiigaran ships, and those were Hiigaran designs from the original game.
Stand by Group 2.
Target locked in.
We have quite
Just say the word.
Stand by Group 2.
unusual ship designs.
Report of hostiles by Group 2.
Let me at 'em.
Can they survive that? Oh, okay, I guess so.
Stand by Group 2. Stand by Group 1. Delta, formation set.
Target acquired.
So I could be wrong, but I think defenders are...
Worker ready.
Should we move this over? I think defenders are shield.
Be advised, fleet. Command ship is relocating. Stand by Group 2.
Weapons charged.
So they don't have it yet, but a lot of ships will get special actions. Like, I think the fighters can fire missiles at ships.
Target acquired.
Report of hostiles by Group 2.
And like, there's an EMP weapon as well.
Weapons charged.
Attention, Kith Nabal. This is the Somtom mining vessel Kunlan. The enemy resources have been destroyed. Stand by Group 1.
Moving to attack.
Stand by Group 2.
Target locked in.
Bridge.
Worker here. Understood. Harvesting.
Stand by Group 1.
Just say
Stand
the
by
word.
Group 1.
Warning. The proximity sensor net is under attack in Sector 110. If the net fails, the Taidan force can run their entire fleet through the hole. We must defend the net immediately.
Stand by Group 1.
Target locked in. Target acquired. Moving to attack.
Stand by Group 2.
Weapons charged.
Stand by Group 1.
Yeah?
This is Command. Command ship is underway.
So you can actually speed up time with one of the buttons, slow it down.
Report of
Okay.
hostiles by Group 1.
I was trying to remember which button it is there, and I was struggling.
Stand by Group 1.
Weapons
I think we're near the end of the first mission though. There's not too much you need to do, it's just like a lot of different things, or, well, a few different things that are quite distantly spaced around the map. You know, like we were over there, then we came over here, now we're over here.
Our forces have taken the upper hand. The Imperials are pulling back. One of their damaged cruisers is in this area.
Track it down and make sure it never threatens Hiigara again.
Stand by Group 1.
Damn.
Target acquired.
Stand by Group 2.
Target locked in.
Stand by Group 2.
Moving to attack.
Bridge. Bridge.
So generally speaking, it's not an overly challenging game.
Stand by Group 1.
I remember it being challenging when I was a kid, or at least a challenge.
Formation set.
Not looking possible. I did finish it.
Stand by Group 1.
Target locked in.
Stand by Group 1.
Weapons charged.
But there's not... It's not like there's hundreds of things, hundreds of factors you have to take into account to win a level. It might just be because I've played these sorts of games lots. But yeah, it's just about like, marshalling resources, building enough ships, and knowing sometimes when to use different types of ships. But it's not overly strict.
Stand by Group 2. Stand by Group 1.
Target acquired.
Stand by Group 2.
Moving to attack.
Report of hostiles by Group 1.
Target acquired.
Stand by Group 2. Stand by Group 2. Stand by Group 2. Stand by Group 1.
Moving to attack.
I think those guys might infinitely respawn, actually. Oh, okay. Oh, I was going to say maybe not, but no, it does look like they are.
There are no more available resources in explored area.
Weapons charged.
Stand by Group 2.
Target acquired.
Report of hostiles by Group 1.
Okay.
Command ship has successfully relocated.
Oh, is that why we need the fighter drives?
Beginning construction.
Roger, command. Moving to attack.
Report of hostiles by Group 1.
Receiving.
Adding ships to Group 1.
Might as well make them one group.
Bridge. Command.
So yeah, most of the time it's just about marshalling resources, knowing when to attack, and building up enough ships, and just keeping your mothership,
Has been eliminated.
Roger, command. Returning
keeping your mothership out of the way of the enemy.
This is command.
Because even later in the game, it's surprisingly vulnerable. Okay, so that's the end of the first mission. Well done, us. I think generally speaking, the missions are maybe like half an hour to an hour in length-ish. There's like 15 of them, or just under 15, around that number. So it depends upon the mission, but usually each mission will follow on straight away from the last. Like you'll jump to a new location, so you'll usually want to repair your units and build up your ships before you jump, or before you end the mission.
Bridge.
ready. Roger, command.
Construction underway. This is command.
Receiving. Beginning link now.
Command.
Roger, command. Roger, command.
Setting assigned Group 1.
Moving out. Roger, command. Preparing to dock.
Adding ships to Group 2.
Roger, command.
Stand by Group 1.
Receiving.
Adding ships to Group 2.
And there we go.